what an amazing year you've had.
Interviewing Sir Alex Ferguson, right? My childhood hero. Interviewing Stephen Bartlett, interviewing Gary Vee. This guy never thought he would do that, right?
Aydan Al Saad, a creator, entrepreneur, and former tech sales leader, left his six-figure corporate career to build his own business.
Now, with hundreds of thousands of followers and millions of views, he's helping others do the same.
I started as a sales development rep. I built myself up to account manager, sales manager, then director level. So I kind of went through that whole sales journey. When I said to my wife, right, I'm quitting this to go and start TikTok and stuff like that, like there was a moment where she's like, what the hell have I married?
What would be the 5 kind of steps that have got you there? Should we go number 1?
Number 1. So,
Aydan, we have literally just done 50 minutes, the blueprint of you from this kind of 200K a year job to where you're at now, which is creator, entrepreneur, multiple 6-figure businesses.
I think it starts with the mindset. It then takes you through how to get your first customer. But I think it really is taking one step at a time. Don't try and jump too many steps. I think, just take each step as it goes.
Cool. All right, let's dive in.
Let's go.
Well, Aydan, thanks so much for doing this, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is the first time I'm doing a proper whiteboarding journey on this, so I'm excited to do it with you.
Cool, yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know you, you are a creator, entrepreneur with really significant following on Instagram, TikTok. Do you want to just give an overview of your platforms and what you would call yourself?
So yeah, I think there's multiple different things, but I would say I'm a creator, entrepreneur. My background has been mostly in tech sales. So I started as a sales development rep. I built myself up to AE, account manager, sales manager, then director level, and then CRO. So I kind of went through that whole sales journey. Got to 12, 13 years and then realized I wanted something different. It was actually quite a pivotal moment in my life where I became a dad. And that moment becoming a dad, I then realized time is now more important to me than money. So I got to the stage where I was on about 200K a year for many years, doing well, enjoyed it. I really loved my career. But then time became the priority. So I then had to refigure what a new career could be like to then make sure I have more time rather than focusing just on the money.
Got it. And now today, we were talking about it earlier, you've gone through this kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step system over the past 18 months. And now you're in a place where you've kind of replaced this 200K a year salary job with multiple 6-figure businesses.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's like unlimited upside. Like this year could be really cool for you.
It's going to be a fun year. I think there's lots of opportunity. I think that's the beauty of running your own businesses. It's not for everyone. I think that's something I do want to say, you can really enjoy your career. But when you have that mindset shift, you've then got to go for it. And now flexibility, time are the big focus for me, where before it was very much more like my money and stuff like that.
Let's just maybe quickly run down on this.
Recap that, yeah.
Yeah, so the good stuff here.
Good stuff here. So money, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Especially in tech sales. If anyone's in tech, startups, sales, great opportunity, great career.
Yeah.
You learn so much. You go through the ups and downs of part of a unicorn and everything like that. Money, teams. Like you're part of these amazing teams, especially if you're working in startups, you're working with some great people, the connections. So many people that I've worked with in this journey have helped me along this. So I think the people and the connections you make as well. I think then also just skills. So that's the next thing. Like a lot of people try and maybe go into like entrepreneurship or build their own thing before they've even built basic skill sets up. Like how to work.
Sending an email, right? Like how would you send an email?
Communication, understanding people, all these things are so important, and like you can't really cheat that to get here. You need to do this first. So I do advise people, if you get into a career that you really want to learn skills from, and then you can then use that for yourself in the future.
On the other side of this here as well, I got stability.
Stability, I would say stability was definitely something of this early in my career. I think, the last few years we've seen a lot of layoffs, we've seen a lot of people go through these things. I actually think stability is not as strong as it used to be. I think you can actually have similar stability as an entrepreneur. It's about the same these days, in my opinion. Before, I used to say 100% a job would be more stable. That's what we were told from our parents before. Go and get a stable job. It's not that stable at the moment as a market. So I wouldn't say that's as much as it is now, but it has definitely been in my...
Definitely in a job though, you perceive it very much.
You feel like you've got more
stable, safe, because maybe you're not privy to the actual numbers and the reality of the business.
Exactly.
Whereas like as an owner of a business, you might think actually this business is like, you know, in a precarious position, but
a paycheck's coming in.
You're probably not going to tell the team.
Yeah, you know a paycheck's coming in every month, right? That's the one thing in your mindset.
What were the downsides of this that made you want to make the jump to entrepreneurship, becoming a creator?
Like I had probably as flexible career you could probably have in startups. Like startups, you're, you know, it's not like the traditional 9 to 5, you work around your areas. The negative side of that, or the downside of that, is that I could see myself working 8 to 8, 8 to 10 a lot of days, especially when we were going through like unicorn and high growth status, high growth with a lot of the startups. So you can actually lose a lot of time. So long hours, you know, you have a set amount of holidays, right? You have a certain days you have to be in the office. You know, you can't really manage your own calendar completely.
Yeah.
So, you know, while I've still had a very flexible career, you are still restricted. So
You've got to show up to the call.
Exactly. There's team, whether it's team meetings or whatever it is, you have those kind of things. You have to work around them. So you're not fully flexible, but I think
there's a degree of BS that you have to put up with.
There is that as well. Yeah, and I think like the last thing is, unless you are an early stage founder or early stage into a startup, the equity really isn't worth it long term.
Yeah.
So, you know, the amount of times you've had the promise of like me and startups, you know, your equity is going to be worth X, Y, and Z, unless you are so early stage or have a really significant stake, that piece of equity really isn't going to change your life long term. It may give you a small deposit or something like that if it's even successful. So yeah, no ownership and no guaranteed of like that long-term success.
Yeah, and it really, you're like, you kind of control your career to a degree, but you also don't. Like it's kind of, you know, it's in the hands of who your manager is, who the founder is, like which direction they're taking the business, all that kind of thing. So,
and the final one maybe for me on that is actually also your brand is still controlled in some sort because you're working for a company. So you can't really talk your whole truth. You're talking maybe your truth within certain parameters. So you've still got to be within the company's guidelines in like how you can say stuff maybe on social media.
So like, restricted personal brand,
Restricted personal brand, and you know, it depends on the organization. Again, I've been quite lucky, but like not all companies are supportive of you building side hustles as well. So if you are wanting to do that, some companies actually see it as a negative and they actually hold people back. I think we're getting better in that in 2025, but there is still some restrictions.
So your biggest things here that you wanted to kind of solve by making this jump was what, like ownership, freedom of time,
flexibility and time. Flexibility, time, and creativity. So they were the three things that I really wanted to dive more into. Should we got them here? Okay.
And what have you got now? Let's map that out. Was this a good decision?
So far so good. 18 months later, so far so good.
Okay.
So, number one, flexibility. You know, like you have the opportunity to come here Thursday morning and film a podcast kind of thing, right? You know, you have that flexibility. You can work your calendar around multiple opportunities. Time, you know, 100%. Look, I think this is a really interesting one because like there's gonna be a lot of entrepreneurs who actually say like they work much more than when they were in a job or something like that. And I think that is true. And I think it's depending on the type of business you want to build, right? If you're building, like, you know, an agency or a startup or something like that, it's going to take a lot of your time, but you are putting that time into yourself. If you are kind of like, you know, the last 18 months, I've been much more like kind of flexible in my time. So if I've taken like a month off, I've taken a month off. If I want to do that, that's for me is so important. And social media and bringing in income, you know, online allows you to do that. So it depends what you're building, but I think time can be something that you can own much more. But obviously a lot of entrepreneurs are using their time to build as well. Creativity, I think, was probably my biggest frustration in a sales role, because in a sales role, you are always kept to a number, right? You have to get X amount every single quarter. The quarter ends, you hit your target, well done, you're back to zero. You know, and that creativity doesn't really, that cycle every 3 months doesn't really allow for much creativity. I was probably one of the people in the companies I worked with that tried to build the most creativity in how I sold, how I connected with clients, how I, you know, did things. But now I have full ownership of it. And I think that's been probably one of the things that I've loved the most is I can just do what I've always wanted to do with my social media and brand and stuff like that because I have full creativity now. I'm not
really cool.
restricted. I think they're the three main things. I think then, you know, the other one is then opportunities. So this is one where I wouldn't say I've mastered yet, but like the opportunities I've had in the last 18 months between like interviewing Sir Alex Ferguson, right? My childhood hero, getting to meet him and then interview him.
Yeah.
Interviewing Stephen Bartlett, interviewing Gary Vee. This guy never thought he would do that, right?
Yeah.
Doing these kind of interviews, going to events around the world, spoke at 1 Billion Summit, speaking around the world. Again, I was doing speaking and some things before, but not at this level.
Yeah.
And then obviously just going viral on social media and stuff like that brings up the opportunities. But I think, that is one of the main things is like, you get these opportunities that you never thought you could have ever done before. And actually they're quite accessible.
Yeah, this is like true potential, isn't it, as well?
Yes.
So like here, like, you're capable of more.
Yeah.
But you're kind of in a cage
exactly.
to some degree.
Yeah.
It's a really nice cage.
Yeah, it's a golden cage. It's a golden handcuff.
It's a lovely cage.
Yeah.
Pays you well. Probably, you in particular, you worked for really cool companies, but there is just like that true potential.
Yeah.
Like what an amazing year you've had, like crazy 18 months.
Yeah.
You've met some amazing people, you've traveled the world, speaking on stage, met amazing people, like, this is kind of like what you're only here once. Like you feel fucking great doing this.
And that's the thing, like, for example, even like just that Sir Alex Ferguson interview kind of thing, like that is like a once in a lifetime thing that I never thought it was a dream, but like never a dream I thought was ever going to happen. So I never kind of like put that as like on my roadmap. But this managed to give me that opportunity.
Yeah.
And like these opportunities are there. You've just got to put yourself in the position to get them.
Yeah.
And this restricts you from doing that, in my opinion.
And just lastly, on the money side, so let's just say you've basically now got, how many businesses have you got?
2 with another one kind of in the works.
Okay, so what are they?
So the main revenue streams into here are social media.
Yeah.
So that's through brand deals, affiliates, views on platforms, advertising, stuff like that. And then consultancy. So my consultancy kind of has 2 kind of aims, two elements. You've got the go-to-market consulting, which is essentially leverages my skills over 15 years in sales and go-to-market. And then you have the coaching, which has become something that's just more passionate of mine to help people build their brands and do this, essentially go from being in a job that they maybe like, but they want to do more. So I'm helping people come on that journey with me.
So you've got social, so that's you because you're a creator. So you post content. You've built an audience. People like the content. And then brands, they pay you to get in front of that audience.
Correct.
Like roughly, what would you make? What would you have made in the last year from that?
In the last year, probably around about 150.
150. So 150K there. And then coaching consultancy, that's the second business. So last year, roughly, what would you have made there, maybe?
1 to 120.
Yeah. 120K. Pounds or dollars?
Pounds.
Pounds, yeah. So, and then that's basically people seeing you do this. And also seeing your previous career. And going, oh, actually, maybe he could help us with that. Like, we want to do something. Build brand, build content. Build startups. And then, they just reaching out to you. So, so with either of these, do you do much like selling?
Not really, which is really stupid because I should be doing it because that's my skill set. I still haven't. So I'm at the next stage. So I've got this multiple 6-figure. What my next stage is to then scale, and I haven't gone through that process yet. But like the opportunity for me is to build an info product that sits right here, that between my knowledge and consultancy and everything like that. So how to build a personal brand, how to sell, how to run a discovery call, all these things I know how to do is to build an info product that sits in between here. I know I need to do it. If someone wants to help me do it, come and help me do it because I just need to I need the structure to put it together. But I know that's where the opportunity lies. I just haven't got around to it yet.
Yeah, cool. And then both of these are like basically kind of more or less time for money.
Exactly. They are there is restriction to them. I think like there's only amount of posts you can really do on social media, right? There's only amount of hours I can do consultancy and coaching. So like the info product is what I need to do in info business, and that could take this from a 250 whatever it is to a 2.5 million, 5 million business. I just need to go and do it.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that.
See, I'm not someone who's done it, right? I'm doing it. That's the key thing to point out.
We'll get into that a little bit. So let's do the 5 steps because I was similar in this kind of place. I'm here and I love it. I think this is incredible. What would be the 5 kind of steps that have got you there? Should we go number 1?
Number 1. Sorry for my writing. It is terrible, but it is mindset.
Okay.
So for me, this doesn't start without the mindset shift. And for me, that mindset shift happened because of an event. I became a dad. That was a huge mindset shift for me. I became a dad. I realized that this wasn't as great as this is a career. I wanted now something that gave me more time. I wanted something that gave me more flexibility. I wanted to spend as much time with my son as possible. That was my goal.
Yeah.
How do I spend as much time and energy with him? I need to then own my own time, business and stuff like that. So it really is a step with a mindset shift. And I think this is not just because I had a son. A lot of people are held back because of the mindset. They think, how do I go and do this? So you need to take risks, right? The earlier on in life, the better it is, right?
Yeah.
Like I have a mortgage, a wife and a kid. It's probably the stupidest time to take a risk, right?
Yeah.
It was literally like when I said to my wife, right, I'm quitting this to go and start TikTok and stuff like that. Like there was a moment where she's like, what the hell have I married?
Yeah.
But that is something you have to go and do. And I think a lot of people, I do obviously street interviews. I speak to people daily about the kind of their careers and stuff like that. And the number one thing that stops people is the mindset that they can't do it, right? It's too much of a risk. I have my rent to pay. I have mortgages. I have a kid. I have family. The earlier on where you don't have any of them, you've got nothing to lose. And honestly, I wish my 22-year-old self, I love my career, so I wouldn't change it. But I do wish my 22, 23-year-old self thought about this, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And actually was like, I should take some more risks. Why? My first job I was at for 5 years. 5 years, that's a long time in a startup, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, and that was great. I built this great brand of the company, but I didn't do anything for myself when I left the startup. Second startup, 5 years again. I had a great brand in the company. I did so much for the business, took it from 0 to 10 million. Didn't have anything to show from it at the end of it, essentially, apart from the salary that I had through.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the episode and you want a breakdown of all the tips and strategies so you can implement them easily, I have made a breakdown and I've put it in the link in the description. You can get it for free. Really hope you enjoy it. Now let's get back to the episode.
So what was the shift here? It was like, I've had a kid.
Yeah.
I need to fucking take a risk. Or it was
weirdly enough, that made me want to take risks. It's the opposite. I think most people have kids and then they think, okay, that's it, I'm going to settle. I had the opposite effect. It was like, right, I want to spend time with him. I want to kind of build stuff. And the thing that really made it for me is I stopped caring what anyone else thought. And I think that's what held me back.
Yeah.
I was because my network wasn't entrepreneurs, wasn't creators. My network was everyone doing 9 to 5. Every one of my friends is 9 to 5 jobs. We've all been there. That's how I've come up. That's how I had traditional law, did a law degree, and then into career.
Yeah.
So I wasn't surrounded with entrepreneurs and stuff like that. So I think that mindset was like, actually, I want to do something different. I don't want to be afraid anymore. I don't care what people say. That's the mindset I needed to make.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people do share that mindset.
That's amazing. Yeah, that is awesome. Right. That's actually very difficult, but very simple, right?
It is just, and like this is where
Simple, but not easy.
it's simple but not easy. And I think like the thing is here, you hear all this advice online, just start, just do it. Take the first step. It's so true. You can't, no one else can take that first step from you. No one can start without you doing it.
Yeah.
You just gotta I think if I can give one bit of advice, don't care. Don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, scratch that itch.
2. What's number 2?
2, okay. I'm gonna just call this purpose.
Okay.
So we haven't even talked about anything tactical, right? We're just still, we've got the mindset. We've now gone, I want to go and do this.
Yeah.
I want to take a risk. I want to go and try something different. I want to go and try and build something new. Now, this is the bit I think a lot of people then try and skip. And I think this is so important. I think you kind of get to like here, maybe. And you're like, actually, I don't even like doing what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah.
What am I even doing? Why am I here?
Yeah.
Because you never really thought about this.
Yeah.
What is your purpose? What is your vision? What are your values?
Yeah.
So I think if you can think about purpose, mission, and values,
Yeah.
right? So for me, my purpose is I want to help other people with their careers. I want to help people achieve their goals. I've always done that in the companies I was in. I was always helping other people get promotions. I was always helping people get to the next step of their career. I was mentoring younger people. So I've always had that as like a goal for me around helping people in careers. Just I was doing it in a closed circuit, essentially in companies.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh, I can do this on social media. This is my purpose. I can make it wider. Shout out to Simon Squibb. Like he does it from an entrepreneurial perspective, right? He was the one who made me think, actually, like he's helping people want to become entrepreneurs. I want to help people progress in their careers.
Yeah.
So that was something that like, really that. So that then became my mission, right? My purpose was helping other people. My mission was then, okay, let's help people to get progress their career goals.
Yeah.
So now like a lot of my content has been now shifting to like, what's your career goal? What's your next goal of your career? Because I want to help people achieve the next career goal, essentially. A lot of people want to, whether it's promotion, change career, whatever that goal may be, build a business. What's that mission? The next thing is in values. Like this is something that I think, like, I have a career coach.
Yeah.
I've known her for years. I think people don't think about what their values are.
Okay.
Like I think, what are the values that you carry on a day-to-day basis? Because this is going to then determine the rest and who you work with and stuff like that. So I think really sitting down and understanding like what your values are. For me, my values are family. My values are flexibility.
Yeah.
My values are purpose, like really kind of living a purposeful life. So being very like intentional. So really kind of understand like what your kind of key values are, and then making sure you're then building whatever you want to build around those values.
I guess then that's like basically your decision-making framework, isn't
100%,
it?
yeah.
So then basically if anything gets in the way of family, it's a no.
It's a no.
Anything gets in the way of flexibility, it's a no.
Yeah.
Anything gets in the way of purpose, it's a no.
So I turn down a lot of opportunities, come back to the opportunity bits, because it doesn't fit with my family.
Yeah.
If it doesn't fit with my family and what I want to do and like kind of that, it's not worth it. It's
last night I invited you to a dinner.
Exactly.
Bloody family.
Exactly. I want to spend the night with my son. Like it's hard to do things on the weekends and evenings, because I want to spend the time. That's the whole goal.
Yeah.
Was the reason I started was because of him.
That's really cool. I love that. I think that is something that, that's cool. I haven't had that one, but that's just like struck a chord with me a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else there?
I think that's the main thing. I think like, so maybe some practical advice, like how do I go and do this?
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of ways to do it. There are professionals out there who help career coaches and stuff like that, so you can maybe go and seek out one of them. I actually have a document that I've never shared. I've shared from my career coach, and I use it, and like it kind of gives you like a bunch of like values, all these things.
Yeah.
And you then list like what are the top ones for you, and then you kind of maybe it's something like that, like just having a resource that you can just look at and go, okay, here are my values, and these can change, right?
Yeah.
Here my values were different, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now my values are kind of now here. So like I think I think it's just kind of really kind of having that introspect to kind of really think about what these things are. Take the time. It's not a big deal. Take the time and it will help you.
We will put a breakdown of every step, and we'll put some prompts for this in the description, so someone can go away and do this and
Love it.
schedule that time in the coffee shop on the weekend
There
and
we go.
map it all out. All right, number 3. I'm loving this so far. It's really cool.
Nice. So number 3, cool. Skills. So this is going to depend on like where you are in your career and stuff like that. But I think based on your experience, so you're in a job, you've been doing it for X amount of years, and based on your job, you've built up a number of skills and experience. So what are the high income skills that you have, right?
Yeah.
So I'll take my example because I can talk about my example. I've done 15 years in sales, leadership, go-to-market, and startups. So I know how to run a discovery call. I know how to close. I've closed over 20 million in different companies and stuff like that. I know how to manage a team. I know how to create content. I know how to understand people, leverage kind of connections, networking, create events. So what are those high income skills that you have?
Okay.
So for me, sales, let's say, go-to-market strategy, leadership, mentoring, content. Just about 5.
Yeah.
But I know I have a number of skills that can be then valuable. So figure out what are the main skills that you have and who they can serve. Because this is going to then determine your offerings, kind of thing. So, all this sales, the go-to-market, leadership, mentoring, that all goes into this business, essentially. the content and the social media stuff, that then goes into here, right? And I think and actually also I'm going to put people skills, right? This is probably the biggest skill, for me it's the biggest skill in life, is understanding people. If you can understand people, you can then literally get people to do anything in a way. And, you know, understanding people really comes from having conversations, it comes from having, you know, kind of connections with people, networking and stuff like that. So I started, again, going back to my career to start with, I started doing sales cold calling. So the first 6 months of my career, I couldn't sit down between 8:30 and 11:30. Literally, this is old school sales. So I had to do 100 calls in the morning. You couldn't go to the toilet, you couldn't go to a break, you couldn't do anything. It was horrible. I cried multiple times. But I learned resilience. I learned how to deal with people. I learned how to go through rejection. So now people ask me, how do you manage people saying no to you in the streets all the time? I'm so used to people saying no to me for my years of career in sales. So, you know, this is just giving you kind of the skill sets you need. So the skills that you build up in your career, again, another introspection session. Sit down, write down all the skills that you have, and then write out like what your skills can add value to. Who are the people that your skills can add value to? That's the next bit of advice I'd give. Yeah,
and actually some of these as well, would you say like, do you actually even need to know that you've got it, or just have a sense that you've got it? Because for me, in my journey, you know, I was similar, quit job because I thought I really wanted to work on content. And although I'd done bits of content in my job, I wasn't an expert, but I just had a strong conviction in stuff that I liked and didn't like. And actually, turns out when I started working with people, like all of the ideas, or most of the ideas worked. Some of them didn't, but most of them worked. So actually, like, I think if anyone's wondering here, they're like, I think I would be good at that, but I'm slightly restricted in what I do here, so I'm not 100% confident. I think have conviction, because if you think you'll be good at something, or you've got good opinions on something, you're probably right.
Like my content skills wasn't video editing or you know, understanding social media platforms. My content skills was I knew how to have conversations with people. Right. So interviewing people in the streets just looked fun to me. So that was like, I have these conversations with people over the phone or in person and stuff like that. Let's just put it in a street setting. Let's do it. That's fun. So I think that's kind of like, you know, if you see content that you admire, I think if I say to anyone who wants to start doing any content, look at like who you're following. Why are you following them? What are the things that you enjoy about them? Let's say it's about entrepreneurship. You like it because they're giving you people stories, they're telling you a journey, stuff like that. How do you put your spin on it? How do you show your kind of side of doing it? So that's how I would think about starting content in that sense.
Cool. So step 4.
Step 4. Okay. One customer.
One customer. Okay.
Everything starts with one customer, right? So you've decided you're going to take this risk, right? You're going to start your own thing. You understand what your purpose is. You understand why you're doing what you're doing. You've now got a sense of the kind of the reason behind it. Okay, you've got your skills. Now you're figuring out, here are my skills I've got. So the first customer. This is important, and this goes across everything. Like, to build any business, you need to get one customer to start with. So a lot of people, you know, have this mind block of like, how am I going to turn this into 100K or 1 million or whatever? Forget about that. One customer. Just get one customer. And that customer can even be for free to start with, to then get references to build that forward. So that one customer, you need to look at your network first and foremost, right? There are people in your network who will need your skills. Like if it's sales, if it's content, if it's, you know, managing people, whatever it may be. There's going to be someone who could leverage your skills in some way. So, you know, if you're a creator or video editor, you know, you want to use your video editing skills to help other creators. You know, I get DMs on the daily from people saying, hey, I'll edit one of your videos for free and stuff like that. It's a smart move to do. A lot of it feels very AI content, but you've got to figure out your first customer. So the key thing here is just to look at your network, look at kind of the circles around you, and then kind of like try and get that reference, essentially. So this reference is going to be, you've done a great job for someone, and then you can then leverage that to then go out and sell to people.
So who was that for you, or what was that for you?
So on 2 businesses. So let's start with the coaching consulting. So on this one, when I decided I was going to go on this journey, someone I had sold to, who was the ex-VP of engineering at Google, was starting their startup. And they went on LinkedIn and was like, I'm really struggling with sales. I'm an engineering person. Can anyone help? And then someone tagged me on the post and like, oh, you should chat to Aydan. He's looking to do his own thing. And then I was like, okay, let's have that conversation. Yeah, we spoke from there. And that was it. That was my first sale. I got a bit lucky in that sense. But I think like you've got to look at your network first. You've got to be like, out there and put yourself in this position. So like the first thing was just working with them to understand what they were looking for. Okay, how can I help you? And that was my first consultancy freelance gig.
Yeah.
On the social side, again, I started posting, right? So I'm posting on social media and being very consistent about it. A few videos are starting to go viral. And this was maybe about 6 months, maybe less, even a few months in, a brand gets in my inbox.
How long were you posting for?
I was probably posting between about 3 months, maybe 3 to 6 months.
Okay, so this took 1 week, or
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was pretty immediate.
you were still doing a job, or you'd quit your job?
Quit my job.
So, okay, that's interesting. So,
So I actually do not do what I did. Do not quit. Do not kind of do it without kind of anything. I always had this anomaly that I was on paternity leave as well, so I was kind of like off already kind of thing. So I think my situation was a little bit, but like.
So you then started posting on social for 3 months.
Yep.
And then a brand reaches out.
A brand reaches out, a fintech brand.
Okay.
And they're like, hey, we love your interviewing style. We'd love to kind of work with you. We'd love to do it. And this is actually where I actually then connect with the new business I'm doing, Creator Leaders, with the co-founder, Gabriel, because I get this DM and I'm like, who the hell, I don't know how much to charge for a brand deal. This is the first thing that everyone's ever mentioned to me about a brand deal. So I then go, I don't know how to charge for brand deal. I don't know what it is, what do you do? So I reached out to a bunch of creators, and the guy that came back to me, of all the people, was Gabriel on LinkedIn. And he was like, let's just jump on a call and I'll talk to you about what brand deals are like and stuff like that. He was like, yeah, just go for 1,000 for this first one, right?
Yeah.
I had maybe 20K followers at the time.
Okay.
So, and then I just went, hey, can we do that for 1,000? I think they negotiated down to 800.
Yeah.
My first brand deal was like, £800 or something around that lines.
Yeah.
And then I started doing brand work, right? And that got me to understand, okay, this is how it works with brands. This is what they're looking for. I did content for their page. We did some collaborations and stuff like that. And then that started to build up this business, the social media business, which then Bringer Brand Deals, did a 12-month partnership with Indeed, and stuff like that. But it all starts with that one customer on both sides.
Yeah. So the first deal is 1K.
Yeah.
For a couple of videos or something.
I think it was like, 1 day of filming and 3 videos or something.
Cool.
Do not pitch me that now.
For you to post. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
How do you know it was on their channel?
The first thing was like what?
Like it was like a month of consulting essentially. So like 3 days a week, I think, or 3-4 days a week. So it was like a 10K a month kind of package essentially.
10K a month.
10K a month, yeah.
Cool.
For one client for like 3 days.
That is super cool. And then now we're kind of at like, 18 months down the line, that 1K turns into like annual deals. And
yeah, but I think this is a really good point actually to say here, right? I was able to make 10K a month here because I had so many skills that I built up in this area over time. I was only able to charge 1K here, which in comparison to there is like nothing, like not nothing, but a lot less, because I've only been in this 3 months. I have 3 months experience as a creator. I have 15 years experience in sales and go to market. So that's why I could leverage that much more. However, this is so much more opportunities, so much more you can leverage it, because that isn't too much for your time.
Yeah.
And this is 3 days a week. This was a couple of hours of filming.
Yeah. So you can basically, this is hard for you to do more, a lot more of that.
You can't take on 2 of them essentially at that stage.
Yeah. Whereas this, over time, as your audience grows, that 1K can turn into what, like 100K a year or?
Yeah, so that's been a pretty consistent like 15K a month business. So maybe even 150K is a bit less than it is. But yeah, usually from my socials, about 10 to 15K a month every single month through just brand deals and stuff like that.
Cool.
And I don't even sell a digital product, which is where I probably would make the most money.
Yeah. And we've got that other business here maybe starting as well. So
yeah, we can put them there. Creator Leaders, which is coming out very soon.
Which is kind of community for all these cool entrepreneurs, all these people you've met.
Yeah, this is obviously a joint venture with someone else, but like this is kind of does also tie into this world as well.
Yeah. All right.
But first customer is the main thing.
First customer.
Yeah.
And then 5. What's 5?
5 is then essentially, I'm going to call it, and this is, if I ever build a course, it's going to be called this: content-led sales. Okay. So I think this is where you can then turn that one customer into building a 5, 10K a month business. And I think it is, using content to sell.
Yeah.
So you need to be posting your journey, you need to be sharing, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on Instagram, whatever platform you're focusing on, but like documenting the journey, bringing along people, and then learning to sell. So I think there's a documenting piece and a sales piece. So like, honestly, the number one thing I think that most creators hate to do is sell.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why there's lots of agencies that are out there. That's why, you have lots of creators who are, not really getting the brand deals maybe they want or the partnerships they want. It's because they don't want to sell themselves. Honestly, this whole like sales and self-hype is something that people need to really get on board with. You need to be your own champion. You need to support yourself, but also just learning sales is so important. So sales for me is all about communication. So how do you run a discovery call? A discovery call is a 15 to 30 minute call where you're kind of understanding the pain points of the customer you're trying to solve. So for example, right, if I want to sell into, let's say a bank, if I want to get into a bank and do a brand deal with a bank, let's say I'm already a customer of NatWest. I can then be posting on my socials, hey, here's me using my NatWest card to go and pay for a croissant in the morning. Here's me setting up my bank account or my ISA or whatever it is. But if I want to get in front of them as a creator, for example, you need to position yourself in front of them and create content that they're going to be interested in. If I'm looking at consulting, for example, again, here's what I'm doing with, a bunch of startups. So one technique that works really well for me, leveraging my socials for this, I only did it once, and I need to do it more because it was very good, was I was like, hey, I want to offer any startup the access to my 350 followers, 350,000 followers, by giving them free exposure.
Yeah.
I put that on LinkedIn. I had 100 people respond to me. Like, oh my God, we would love you to be highlighted on the newsletter or on the socials or something like that. That's then a way to then work and do consulting with them. And I didn't even mean to do it on really that way. So that made me go, okay, that's a really good way I can leverage these together. So I think like using content, so by posting, saying like, hey, here's what I'm doing with X, Y, and Z, here's how I can help you, that's gonna be how you can then scale your first customer into then multiple customers to make a 5 to 10K a month business.
So this is kind of like documenting the journey, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, social media is the cheat code at the moment. I think it still will be for a while. So I think it's just kind of you showcasing how you're helping people or creating content that engages people as to why you're doing what you're doing.
Cool. So, and there, are you doing that? So Instagram's obviously your biggest platform.
TikTok, actually.
TikTok's your biggest platform, yeah. But there, are you actually doing more of sharing what you're doing there on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Because that's where the customers are.
So this is where, like, again, I have not figured it out, and if someone wants to help me, let's do it. But my biggest social channels don't impact this business at all. This business has pretty much been based on my network, referrals, and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
This is TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn, right? So like there's not been the connect between them all. As mentioned, I'm still trying to figure out that thing. I think it is potentially turning this approach, so content-led sales for me is an approach.
Yeah, yeah. But it's basically like you're basically able to say, look, here's all this content I've made.
Yeah.
Would you like me to do similar for you?
Exactly. So I think it's that, but then it's also learning to sell. I think people need to learn to sell as well. You need to learn how to run a call. You need to learn how to close. You need to learn how to write good outreach.
Yeah.
And I think like too many people rely on AI now to really kind of like have their messaging and stuff like that. It needs to be personable.
Yeah.
Like one tip I'd give if you're reaching out to anyone, make it as short as possible in the DM or in an email so you see it in the notification.
Yeah.
That's a little tip, but that tip can make a huge conversion difference.
Yeah. And I guess the bit that most people miss is they think, okay, if I want to become a creator entrepreneur, I just create content and then the deals come to me. Whereas you're saying, actually, like, it's not enough for me to make this amazing content. I then need to reach out to NatWest and say, look, I'd love to work with you. And like, by the way, I am perfect. Look at me.
Yeah, you reach out, like you know, because of your values, because of your content, your skills and stuff like that, actually I'd be a great creator for you. And that NatWest example has actually just happened. I manifested it. I was like, I want to work with them. I've been using them for ages. And now I'm doing a campaign with them this month. So that's been me like putting that in mindset, values, my skills, and then going, okay, using the content to then go, okay, how do I work with them? And I started putting some social media stuff out there about how I'm a NatWest customer. I use Metal for my business banking, and now I'm doing a campaign with them.
And then did you email them and say, look?
No, they got in touch with me.
They got in touch with you. Interesting.
But you're putting it out there.
Yeah.
Right? So I call it, again, content-led
You're
sales.
tagging them maybe.
You're tagging them. You're kind of maybe getting it in front of them. You know, there's a connection there and stuff like that.
Yeah. So if let's take this podcast, for example.
Yes.
I could basically mention that I use, I don't know, something to edit it, or Wise Banking to bank and pay for the video editor or whatever. And then I can kind of gradually tag them. They're people who are probably following, watching, seeing the notifications.
We're using DJI mics. Hey, DJI, hit Callum up with a deal. You know, let's get these things kind of happen.
Very cool, yeah. Love that. Actually, I mean, I made a reel on Red Bull. It did 1 million, and then I got invited into Red Bull to meet them, and now we're doing something with them. So
I think on social media, that's one way to do it. So, but like for those who don't want to do the social media route, and maybe they want to maybe set up their own consultancy or stuff like that, the similar principles apply. It's like, you know, even on LinkedIn, you know, like you could go on LinkedIn and say like, hey, I've just done this, you know, whether you're consulting on go-to-market revenue and stuff like that, I've just done this for this startup. This is how this startup, here are the 5 things I think how this startup went from 1 million ARR to 5 million ARR. And here are the 5 things that I did. What do you think? And then maybe tag a few startups that have just raised Series A funding and say, hey, like, do you want to help with like growing from 1 million to 5 million Series A? So like, it doesn't need to be just on social media. This could be for any business.
Very cool, very cool.
I think so. This for me gets you to you know, maybe a 200K kind of business or multiple 6-figure businesses like this, and then where I am right now is then looking to now how do I scale these into $1 million businesses, right? And that is where like I need to make my time less of a focus because all of this still takes up my time. Yeah. It's much more flexible than what I had before, and I run it around my own time, I run it around my own gender, I can take a month off if I want to, but to do all of this, to do the posts, to do the brand deals, to do the consultancy, to do the coaching, I'm present for every single one of them. Yeah. I need to figure out that next bit to then go from, you know, 250 to 2.5 million. Yeah. That's my next journey. I don't know it yet.
But that's exciting because there's a lot of upside there.
Yeah, and I think like, you know, and I'm really passionate. I talk about, you know, the people that I interview in the streets are the people that are doing it. You know, no offense to any of the millionaires out there and the people that have done exited and stuff like that. Your journeys are incredible, but we usually hear from people after they've done it. You know, and I really want to be, you know, part of the people who are sharing this story as they're doing it, because I think that is more relatable to people to make that first shift. These first things, you want to hear from the people who are doing it right now, not the people who, you know, exited with 8 figures and then started all of this, because it's much more easier then.
Yeah. Let's do your working week. What does the working week look like for you?
I would love to have a working week that worked. So I'd say the real only structure I really have at the moment is I will have, you know, in the mornings I do a LinkedIn post. So like, let's put family first. Yeah. So morning is spending time with my son. Wake up, spend time with the son, get him ready, get him to nursery. So between the hours of 6:30 and 8:30 in the morning, and between the hours of 6:30 and 8:30 in the evening, that's family time. That's time with my little one, and nothing can get in those times. Yeah. Unless like I'm running my own events in the evening or something like that. Yeah. So family time, obviously, kind of first. Family. Exercise, trying to get around that as well. Although that's definitely something that I've struggled with in the last 12 months, is to be as consistent with my exercise as I was before because of so much change. Then around the working schedule. So essentially I try and post every day on each platform. So that's always going to be a bit of a time suck. So that's usually a couple hours, or like a half an hour in the evening, a half hour in the afternoon, half an hour in the morning, posting on different channels.
Twice a day?
Twice a day.
So post twice a day?
So no, LinkedIn and YouTube in the morning, TikTok and Instagram in the afternoon. Okay. And I still do all my own posting. That's one thing that I still own and control at the moment.
Okay, so we've got LinkedIn, YouTube in the morning. Why then?
Just because I wanted to break it up. LinkedIn I think is a good time to post in the morning.
And then your TikTok
and Instagram in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So then, depending on the day, like I will usually spend at least one day a week that's focused on filming. Usually it's like a Wednesday or something like that as a filming kind of day. Yeah. So that obviously ties into the social stuff. And there may be a second bit of filming if I'm doing a specific brand deal. And again, like if you're doing a brand thing, you know, you're probably going to have to prioritize that filming with them, you know, for example. So there's maybe like a day and a half that's done with filming. Coaching consultancy, you know, at the moment on both for them, that's probably about a day and a half of stuff.
Yeah. What days is that?
Well, actually, the coaching's usually on Mondays. I like to do coaching and calls on Mondays.
So Mondays.
Consultancy can be very varied. Let's say Monday evenings, Tuesday sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then that kind of then leaves the flexible space. So like this is where like I don't think I probably am working a 3-day week at the moment, realistically, doing this. And then that's where now I've got the time to work on creator leaders. The new thing that I'm working on, that's maybe like another day at the moment, potentially going to be more. But this is ever evolving.
Yeah.
I think this is
fluid.
This is fluid.
So these are like kind of like, yeah, I mean, you're posting, but it's also, there's a bit of play there.
There's play there.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say though, and this is where like potentially another thing that hamstrings me at the moment is that because I'm doing 2 different businesses, not one thing, that kind of takes time in the week and stuff like that. Like, I think a lot of one of the things I'm also working on is how to do one thing very well and focus on one thing. And I'm very guilty of doing multiple things. So whether, and again, if I've got a speaking thing or an international thing in the UAE or something like that wipes out the whole week. And that, again, usually is a couple weeks or a month in advance kind of thing. So the schedule is very much always evolving.
Do you post Saturdays and Sundays?
Post on Saturdays and Sundays. Usually have them kind of scheduled, but that's about it.
Okay.
Try and do no other work on the weekends.
Yeah. Normally have them scheduled.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Or try to.
Yeah.
At least have everything ready to post and it's just literally just posting.
But yeah, it's mostly back then to the family time.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, man. Lowest moment doing this?
The lowest moment?
Yeah.
Oh, I think the lowest moment is... I wouldn't say it's a lowest moment. I think it's more like I still haven't worked out the long-term goal, right?
Yeah.
So like, this, this. There's lots of things I'm doing. And like, I think maybe like, I wouldn't say it's the lowest thing, but it's to actually scale what I'm doing, I still don't know what that is yet.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's like kind of like frustrating because I'm like, I know all these things. How do I turn it into something that can scale, that isn't my time? That would be something that I want to, that's my next thing, my next obstacle to overcome.
Yeah, because you had these 3 things figured out.
Yeah.
But maybe there's like a kind of
this is
vision thing that's maybe needs, like now it's also weird because when you're here, you only kind of think like, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Or this would be amazing. Yeah. And then when you actually get there, there's almost like that second reset where you're like, holy shit, I've actually got what I thought I wanted. I didn't think any further ahead than this.
So this is the point where I'm at probably right now. I can continue doing this and have a good lifestyle business. This is just me. I don't employ anyone.
Yeah.
I work with people on editing, stuff like that, outsourcing, but this is just me, right? So if I'm doing this, happy with this, cool. Maybe that's what I want to do. But if I want to scale and become a 2.5 million, like whatever it is, like, build a kind of an info product. If I want to do that, my opportunity is now to do it, but I've got to want to do that. And that then changes this. Because that flexibility is not going to, like that initially is not going to be there because you have to build, you have to put more time into it.
Yeah.
So I think it is about like really understanding where you are. Like my son is about to go to school next year. Yeah. So when he goes to school, I'm going to have maybe a bit more time back to then actually then build something maybe a bit more. Where right now I want to spend much time with him as possible before he goes into school. So I think you've got to really think about those sort of things. So these values might change in the next 6 to 12 months because I might be like, actually, this or that I want to scale. So it's all evolving.
Yeah. Very cool, man. Amazing. All right. Thank you so much for running through it. I think that is so useful for someone.
I'm happy to put this down on paper for once. I need to actually like read this myself and actually go from the next step. I need to learn from my own stuff.
Okay, man. Where can people find you?
Where can people find me? All on every single social media channel at Aydan Al Saad, AYDAN ALSAAD. Follow me on YouTube. I need to do more YouTube content, so I need to do more stuff there. Or LinkedIn if you want to hear more of my kind of like entrepreneurial journey.
Cool, yeah. And we'll put a full breakdown of all this in the descriptions for people who want to run through it and maybe, do some coffee sessions. Yeah,
and I have some templates for some of these things. Again, none of it's ever been formalized together, but maybe there's a couple of things that maybe there's a push me into putting a few templates together.
Amazing.
Awesome.
All right, man.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.